Welcome to our next talk, Sustainable Entrepreneurship today. We have the pleasure to have an external guest with us, Elisabeth. You see her on the screen. And we would like to, first of all, allow Elisabeth for a very quick introduction about herself and Organic Mondays. And then we will open the floor for the chat. So I have a couple of questions for you, Elisabeth, already. So for the rest of the participants, please use the chat function. So put there your questions. We will pick them up a bit later into this talk. And if you have any comment or feedback, let's make it very lively. So you know that we within Next we very much believe into no filter conversations. So also the chat today with Elisabeth will be exactly like that. We want to tackle a couple of elephants in the room, and we also want to discuss in particular around sustainable entrepreneurship, female entrepreneurs, and topics, for example, like period and so on. So I leave the floor to Elisabeth, and I pull this on the screen, the presentation for you.
Thank you. Hi, my name's Elisabeth. Should I wait for you to get it up?
Yeah, it's coming.
Great.
There you go.
Okay. Super. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning. Appreciate taking the time. And thank you for the invitation, Nicoletta. And I thought I'd try and talk a little bit about sustainable entrepreneurship. Just to give you a bit of background, I'm co-founder of Organic Mondays. My background is actually the corporate world. I cut my teeth in investment banking. I started my career in London, so I'm half German and half Swedish, grew up in England, and ended up joining Commerzbank, which at the time was expanding into European investment banking. It was an exciting time. It was the late 90s. Mid and small mid-cap IPOs were rife, and I certainly learned a great deal. So you can tell how old I am now already. I then was headhunted by ABN AMRO, who was also very active in the small mid-cap market and doing research. And with them, I ended up moving to Zurich in Switzerland and joined their team to sell European equities into the institutional investor base here in Switzerland for a number of years. Mondays is a mission-driven company, and it's the way with entrepreneurship, I think, not having had huge amounts of experience, just having helped my husband in his startup, is that it's usually a subject that you can't let go of. And it just keeps on coming up, and you can't stop talking about it. And in the end, you have to go and do something about it. So let me get straight to it. If you could just go to the third slide, sorry, one more. Thank you. I thought I'd start with giving you an idea, because I see there are a few men on the call, and I don't want you to think that this is something that just has anything to do with women. This is a huge market. This is a $43 billion market. In Europe, it's $6 billion. And it's a market that sits in the FMCG area. And we believe it's a neglected sector. It's been dominated by the same brands for decades. And we believe it's an area which is rife for change. There are market trends that we've seen and you all experience every day in other FMCG areas. And I'm talking anything from your drinks to your toilet paper to dog food. And these are trends that we're seeing growing, where the consumer is demanding transparency, authenticity. They want to see healthier products, more sustainable products. E-commerce has entered many areas of the FMCG market. Obviously, COVID has seen an explosion of acceptance in e-commerce too, but subscription too, I'm talking about here. So what was traditionally something like a newspaper subscription has now been adopted by the likes of Netflix, or also dog food to toilet paper, as I mentioned. And also this is an area which is now moving perhaps out of a sphere of taboo in many areas. I realize there are countries across the world where it's still very taboo, but we are seeing slowly politicians even talking about this, public figures, and areas are being addressed here with taxation and period poverty. And what am I talking about? Well, you already know most probably I'm talking about the femcare sector. If we can move on to the next. So the femcare sector, as I mentioned earlier, is a neglected sector. And what sits behind this is a hidden truth, and that's plastic. So the evidence that is shown here that this is a huge problem, not just for the people using these products, but for the whole globe, is in evidence in the fact that half the population is using this product for half their lives. They're using between 11 and 12,000 products in a lifetime. And why does this matter? Well, because these products have plastic in them. And I'm not just talking about the packaging, I'm talking about the product itself. There is little, if no legislation, demanding that manufacturers state ingredients on their packaging, unlike food, cosmetics. There was a study a few years ago on European beaches. The 5th most found single-use plastic was a menstruation product. So this is a product that is being used by 50% of the population. This has huge health impact. Obviously, wearing plastic in this area of your body on such a regular basis has huge impact, and we don't know half of the impact yet. And obviously environmentally too. We all know that plastic doesn't biodegrade. It takes 450 years for one single-use plastic to biodegrade. And I'm talking about a pack of the most popular product, a sanitary pad, contains the equivalent of 5 plastic bags. We can go on to the next slide, sorry.
No worries, I'm pulling it for you.
Yeah. The solution, Mondays, we want to be part of the solution. And why is this so exciting? Because technology. Technology is allowing us to reach consumers directly. This is a market dominated by players, 3 or 4, who have basically occupied supermarket shelves. There's no way of getting in there if you're a small player. You have to pay to get on the shelf. But technology has allowed us to reach our consumers and inform them and educate them and be transparent and give them a choice, a healthier and more environmental choice about what they want to consume. And this is about coming up with a solution for a problem that is great and really impacts all of us. As you can see, we use organic cotton as our product to replace the plastics and cotton and mixed rayon that you find in most of the period products today. We use a Matter B, which is a biodegradable, compostable solution for packaging. And we're also cruelty-free and vegan, which is obviously quite important for many people today. We also have committed ourselves to give away 1% of our sales to environmental and social causes. Now, that doesn't sound like a lot, but 20% of profits when you're a startup, maybe even a mid-sized business, can also be nothing, because to profit, if you have no profit, there is no giveaway. We're committing 1%, so every time someone buys from us, we are donating that money directly to causes who are addressing environmental and social causes. So I'd love to have some questions about Mondays, about entrepreneurship, sustainability, and yeah, that you can go to that slide. Thank you. And I hope you've, look forward to the next few minutes of talking.
Okay, so can I put the PDF on maybe on the chat or so? Let me see. Or I will also, if you're okay, I will make it available to the participants so they can maybe have a look at it at their own pace. Okay, so as I said earlier, now we can start with a couple of questions for Elisabeth. Thanks for your presentation and introduction about yourself and about Organic Mondays. And all the participants, please, let's make it very lively. So put in the chat any comment or question that you have for Elisabeth about her presentation, or additional questions or information that you want to have about what we're going to discuss. So first of all, I would like to start with a question. So your motto at Organic Mondays is plastic-free periods made easy. So what does it mean sustainability for you, and what does it mean sustainability for Organic Mondays? You already mentioned a lot around plastic into period products and so on. So what is your twist on sustainability within Organic Mondays?
So sustainability is at the core of Mondays ultimately. We look at it in a way that we believe that 1 million people making one small step means a lot more than a few thousand people going zero waste. We want to address the need for people who want to change and make small changes that have an impact as a collective. We very much believe that we can, as a collective, as a consumer, we can drive change. And we're looking to drive change in a sector that has come up with little solution. We realise that sustainability is a huge discussion area, that everyone has their own views on what sustainable is. And we also realise that we can't be everything to everyone. And I think that's really important when you're coming up with a company, that you identify what you are. And what we are is we're offering a product that effectively over 90% of the menstruating market use. They use currently tampons, pads, and this is either a stepping stone to more environmentally friendly products, or it's enough. And this is about choice and education and empowerment. And like I say, about transparency, because we want to drive real change here. And that is only going to happen with education. And we're certainly not the only puzzle piece in this big puzzle. So personally, sustainability is also, I mean, and for Mondays as well, is not just about environment. It's also about a sustainable world. And what does that mean? Well, for example, we spent a lot of time and money getting certified for GOTS as a brand, and not just for our products or not just for organic cotton, because that incorporates the whole circle of our business. So does the farmer get paid properly? Does he treat his people properly? How is a product transported? How are they made? What are they manufactured with? And this goes across in many different areas. Who do we talk to? I mean, diversity is the other area that I think is very important within sustainability as well, because it's about empowering people to have a choice, to be informed and educated. I'm talking in everything. So for me, it's a very broad area. And the 1% for the planet, which I mentioned earlier, was really for us also a commitment. We donate a lot of products through that network of people to programs who educate young women about periods, also boys. And I'm not saying that our product is the only answer, because there are lots of that. And that's the point of being a proper sustainable brand, is by offering choice and education and saying, we're opening the conversation here. Let's talk about this.
That's great. You already anticipated my next question, and actually also Alina on the chat put a similar question, so the one that you just touched base. So sustainability is not just with regard to environmental sustainability, that of course is very important and very core, but there are many more aspects and perspectives to, let's say, sustainability. And you touch base with regard to work sustainability. So within your supply chain, you take care that the product from the, let's say, from the raw material until the final product is sustainable. And you also touch base with regard to educating communities and what's, let's say, the larger concept of sustainability. And it's very refreshing to hear this, because this is a topic that is very near and dear to our next community. So I hope, Alina, that Elisabeth replied to your question. We have another question from the chat, so I will mix and match a bit my questions with the ones from the audience. So right. Olga has a question for you. How does it change your perspective being a mission-driven company instead of a purely profit-driven company? How does it affect your daily business decision-making?
Yeah, it is. It definitely affects everything we do. I have to say we're extremely careful who we work with. Across the board. We are very careful that we work with a very diverse team. We're a small team at Mondays, but all our suppliers, we look very carefully at who we're buying from, make sure that they are also mission-driven companies that also follow whatever their mission is, that they follow it truly and are transparent about it. We delight in the fact that our head of our facilities in our warehouse is a woman in a very male-dominated world. We also source all our products as locally as we can. For example, we have designed some new packaging, and we went to a very family-owned business here near us here in Zurich, How viable is that as a business is difficult, but at the end of the day, it was a joy to work with them. You felt like you were giving back in the community where you live, where you can, and I think that means a lot as well as a company. We also did some crazy things, like we have a box where we send our products directly to you at home, and normally you have this rip strip and it's a plastic piece. Well, I can tell you, we spent a long time researching how to get this rip strip without the plastic strip, so we can say we're plastic free. So it resonates across from the tiniest decisions to the biggest ones. Yeah.
And I mean, that's not an easy job, I guess, right? Because you need to re-engineer and think about the product development as a whole, not just the product itself, but the packaging and the whole thing, that the whole experience of Organic Monday. Because for you, in order to, let's say, to state that you're plastic free, you are taking care of any small details. And as you mentioned, the strap on top of the box, that's definitely a little, but that makes a big difference. Popping a lot of questions now. So there's a question from Adam with regard to your raw material. So what do you do in order to try to, let's say, understand better the cotton that you buy, where you buy it, from who you buy it, and all the situation, let's say, the work situation that's behind that. So how do you make sure that your supply chain is as fair and sustainable as possible? And also there's the reference from Adam with regard to the carbon footprint.
Yeah. So cotton and organic cotton are two different things. And I'm not an expert in cotton, but we've had plenty of discussions and advice from people who are. Cotton as a product is hugely environmentally bad. There are many things. It uses, as an industry, uses 15% of the world's pesticides, for example. It's usually used in areas, I think, like Adam's mentioned, where there's huge problems with water. And so you cause drought with huge impacts on the environment and the people who live around and depend on that water around them. And organic cotton is a different animal. It's a different beast. You allow from the source of the seed to the way the farmer grows it to his community. So he's encouraged to, and in fact needs to, grow other crops. So ensuring that the ground itself is cared for. And they use rainwater, for example. And yes, cotton as a plant is not grown within Europe. And so we have to bring it in from different areas. And we use GOT certified farmers and buyers who bring in the cotton. And it really, I mean, cotton is quite a fluid product, and you have to set up your contracts. And so you bring it in from, I mean, America's quite a big source as well. And I would say perhaps, yes, there are transport issues of bringing it over, but we're open to other ideas. We've looked at other products. I mean, bamboo is one that many people got very excited about, and it grows much quicker. But there are huge issues in actually the manufacturing process and the processing to get it to be a material that is absorbent and soft and kind to the skin. Ended up being negative. So you have to weigh up all these things. And right now, organic cotton for us, especially certified or GOTS organic cotton, is the best alternative in this product. But we are definitely on the outlook for other alternatives. And there are some, they're coming. And with demand, that's the thing. If we as a consumer put our dollar where we want it to be, you can drive innovation. You can help companies like Organic Mondays go to researchers and tell them, we want other alternatives here. Give us something that we can get hold of and research and make products out of. But by going back to those other companies that make these products out of plastic, you're endorsing them and saying plastic's okay in these products.
Thanks for the, let's say, for more detail with regard to your supply chain and the study that you make for sourcing organic cotton. We have a couple of other questions in the chat, and actually Abdul has the same question that I had for you. So you spent a lot of, most of your career you spent it in the corporate world before, right? So we are curious, what does it mean, the transition between the corporate world and the decision to become an entrepreneur? And Abdul also has an additional question: which are the skills that you, let's say, transitioned from your previous corporate life into the entrepreneurial world. So what did you draw upon, and what you had to learn as an entrepreneur?
Yeah. Well, we never stop learning, whatever you do. I hope, even working in the corporate world, right? I hope that's a never ending. I mean, that's what makes life interesting. Some of us decide to challenge ourselves more in different areas, but that's different. I had the great pleasure of working for investment banks who were not the top tier. I never worked for the Goldman Sachs or the Credit Suisse. I worked for companies who we had to fight for our money. We had to fight for our commissions. And it was about being better than anybody else and really understanding what we could offer. And I think that's something that I really think is so important when you become an entrepreneur, because so many people will tell you there's competition out there, or you have no chance against these big guys, or oh, look at you, you know, I mean, who are you? What do you know? Or, you know, there are hundreds of naysayers. And frankly, most probably a lot of them are true. But what makes you different is if you always keep in your mind your mission and your goal, and that you keep on saying, I have something different to offer. I can offer you something that will make your life better. And I think that's, you know, very much a Mondays thing. We move faster, we can make better decisions, we're close to our customers, and we truly believe in our mission. And when I was working in investment banking, because we weren't the top tier, we fought for every cent, and we certainly, yeah, I loved it. And it was passion. And I think that's whatever you do, if you have that passion, it gets you up in the morning.
Great. Okay, we have another question in the chat that is exactly my next question. So it looks like my questions list leaked. So Sophia has a question with regard to, you mentioned that is a mainly male-dominated market, the one you are in, and also you mentioned with regard to fundraising. So we are curious, which were the challenges for you, as first of all as an entrepreneur, second of all as a female entrepreneur, and third of all try to fundraise for a product that is considered just something for women, or not necessarily an appealing product that can, let's say, it's 50%, maybe more, 51% of the population is women. So it should be quite interesting as a product to fund, but maybe that's not your experience. So can you tell us a bit more, how did you tackle the fundraising issue, especially, I guess, at the beginning?
Yeah. I was quite used to being in a male-dominated world, working in investment banking. And there are advantages to being different to everybody else in whatever way you are, in that they remember you. But when you bring up the word periods and period products, most people are either, or the traditional way of reacting is that they're embarrassed. And so it was a mindset. I think it's like everything in when you have a stakeholder in front of you, you've got to think about what they're driven by and what motivates them and what their interests are. And that's, I think, was a really core lesson for us. It was, this is not about something that is a niche market, although we were told that many times. It was about us conveying the message that this is something that an investor can make money from, that this is a huge market, that it's a neglected market, and there's huge potential with huge tailwinds behind it. And once you started that conversation and made it less about the product, which in a way, of course, is very important, but this is about a platform, effectively using technology, allowing an education and change in a sector, and making it about those numbers and the potential. That's how you reach investors, and that's regardless if you're male or female. Being a female investor, the reality is that 4% of VC money goes into female founders. It's still shockingly low. And the very sad fact, and perhaps a little controversial, is what's worse than a misogynist? Well, it's the woman who hates women more. And I have to say, there are a lot of women out there who we spoke to who were not supportive. And I think that's a tragedy. I think we should be empowering each other and educating each other. And I think there's a tendency for other women to be very critical of other women. So we did find an investor, and I think I know he bought into the vision of the big numbers and the business. And I think that if you're a woman in whatever you're doing, or even if you're not even a woman, whatever you are, whoever you are, whatever differences you have, I think you've got to remember you have strengths because of your differences, but that you can also get that person opposite you to relate to you by understanding them. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for giving us this perspective. And I think, yeah, you also highlighted an important message: women supporting other women and not necessarily working against. Okay, we have another question from the chat from Max. Hi, Elisabeth, could you give us an overview about your network and your partnerships? Which kind of companies are part of Organic Mondays?
Hi, Max. Do I understand it correctly? Are you talking about our corporate side of the business where we provide period products into corporate bathrooms, or am I correct in that? I can talk about that. Yeah?
You also refer to your homepage that you're also in a partnership with City to Sea, for example.
Ah, yes. Okay. Okay, so yeah, the City to Sea is one of our partners through 1% for the Planet. I don't know if you know much about 1% for the Planet, but it's a global organization. It's a network, effectively. It's like dating, actually. They connect you as a company who want to be connected to something that we can actually say and publicly say we're committed to change and collective change with non-profit organizations. So one of those companies that we've hooked up with is City to Sea. They're a UK-based company, well, non-profit. And they are all about trying to educate and make change, bringing effectively plastic pollution from the city to the sea. They're based in Bristol, which is, of course, they see a huge amount of plastic going out through the rivers into the sea there. But the reason we really loved them and helping them, and we still do, and we provide a lot of product with them as well as donations, is that they do this program called Rethink Periods. And they educate through organizers periods, and they give choice. And that's what we like about it, is not just a Monday's product getting shown to a group of children. It's everything else, and they're talking about the whole cycle, and it's about choice and empowerment. And they do many, I mean, some of the most famous campaigns have also been the Refill campaign in the UK. We also support companies, non-profits here in Switzerland, educationally as well. So that's a really cool thing to be part of, donating products to them. And on our other side of it, we also do corporate partnerships where we partner with companies and they put our products in the workplace for free, just like toilet paper. And that's a really cool initiative because it's so simple. It allows a company who has the financial means to do so to demonstrate that these products are an essential for women in the workplace. Cool. Yeah.
Well, the last initiative you mentioned, it looks very, very interesting. I mean, also at least for big corporations. I know that you do with some in Switzerland, and I mean, we hear a lot also on the news about making period products free, in particular in developing countries and so on. But it's I guess it's something that is relevant everywhere, right? So there's pockets of people that are not wealthy a bit everywhere, also in the Western world. So it's definitely an initiative that resonates very much with most of us. And you also mentioned with the topic of education. So it's very, very important, at least let's say within our next community, the fact of giving back and also, let's say, educating communities about a lot of different topics, and in your case, educating little girls or women about, let's say, menstruation or everything that is around, not just using products without plastic, but let's say an education a bit that is more 360. And I think I read somewhere on your website that you also have a couple of collaborations in this regard. So that's very great to see that you are taking, I mean, you are walking the talk within your supply chain, and also you are trying to give back to the communities with regard to education, and not just necessarily making people using plastic-free products. So we have a nice comment from Adam on the chat. Thanks for that in advance. He mentions that he really likes your website, and especially our mission page outlining the 5 core beliefs. His favorite one is business can be a force for good. We all have a responsibility to our planet, and we're committed to living by that. I think you touched base a bit on that before. Is it anything else that you would like to add with regard to your core beliefs or the mission for Mondays?
No, I think business can be a force for good, and I think it's about really being authentic as well, and saying we're not perfect. We're just like you, right? We're just like people. I mean, I look in my bathroom and think, gosh, I've got so much plastic in there, and I still got to. But it's about every step, and I think that's, as a company as well, you can get overwhelmed. I think there's a huge sense of that at the moment, about greenwashing. What is genuinely sustainable? Who is being authentic? And I think it's about really keeping sort of day by day and saying, okay, every day we do a step, every day we improve this, spotting those places and talking to other people and exchanging ideas is huge, and we learn a lot from our community, and exchanging that and sharing makes that so much easier. Regarding, just to go back as well, I think on education,
yeah, please.
I think it's really important to understand that there are huge issues around this area, because it's been an area that's been so enshrouded by taboo. So we still have the case that we pay taxes on these products. And so, for example, in Switzerland, it's regarded a luxury item in terms of VAT. And so we are paying a luxury rate of VAT on these products. If you were to buy a bunch of flowers, that is regarded non-luxury and has a much lower rate of VAT, and things like that. It's without women being able and being empowered to get into politics, for example, these issues are not going to get discussed. And that's the same for period poverty. At the end of the day, a food bank or a family, they need money to cover their net essentials, and that should also include these products. And that's about empowering women and driving women to places where they can talk about issues that affect them across the board. So I agree with you. It's a very round thing, but education is so key to this. Yeah.
And you actually touch base, I don't know how it's called. In some countries, they call it tampon tax or something.
Yeah.
So you just touch base on the fact that, for example, I'm Italian, so also my home country taxes tampons. I checked as a luxury product, so the maximum level of the VAT possible. And I think other countries as well in Europe and in many other regions of the world is the same. So it's a bit of a, let's say, a bit of an elephant in the room, right? We tackle a couple during this talk, and this is one of them that, for example, I was just researching things like truffles or real luxury products that are sourced somewhere else and they need to be shipped. They have a lower VAT, for example. So that's kind of shocking to read, right? So that more than 0.5% of the population, you mentioned 11 to 12,000 products in a lifetime per woman, right? So that's a number, right? So that's definitely a takeaway for us on the call today. That is a crazy amount of plastic products that we use, that we consume on a daily basis, multiplied for 3.5 billion of ladies in the world. So if we make the calculation, that's a very crazy number. And if we consider that those products are actually taxed with a maximum level of VAT, that doesn't look like a luxury problem to me. I don't know what about the other guys on the audience. and also the male ones. I mean, as you mentioned earlier, periods and menstruation is not just a topic for women, right? So it's something that affects everybody. And the fact that us women, we use plastic products, that affects everybody, because we all live in the same world. So that's definitely some shocking numbers that we are putting no filter on the table today. So thanks, Elisabeth, for being very much no filter with us.
Thank you.
So we have another question on the call from Olga. So sustainable is expensive, seems like a recurrent statement. What's your POV? Is it true? If yes, how could we change that?
Yes. Sustainable can be expensive. There are choices out there. You know, I mean, you can go and buy a bottle of oat milk from your local bioladen or your organic shop or zero waste shop, and it will cost you significantly more than normal milk. Or you could buy oats and make your own oat milk. You know, there's different grades, I guess. The fact of the matter is that I read a report the other day showing that the biggest premiums for sustainable organic products were given to dog food and fizzy drinks. They were charging 150% premium on the non-organic, non-sustainable products. The way to change this is that the consumer says that they don't want products being used in their food or in their clothing. And this drives then demand to, as I mentioned earlier, to go and look for sustainable products that can be produced en masse with much lower impact on the environment. I mean, it's like the whole electric vehicle discussion. There are still definitely questions over how sustainable electric vehicles are. But what you've done is you've seen a consumer base who's saying we want an alternative to the petrol and diesel cars. And this is driving innovation, and we're seeing then slowly in the sector, which was very resistant to change, to change. And this goes across every sector we see, and we hope to see that in our sector too. There are other products definitely in our market, which we're big fans of, the cup and the reusables. But the reality is that 90% of the market is still using a throwaway plastic product. And if we're just a stepping stone for an administrator to go from that product and use ours to move to something that's less waste or cheaper for them, that's great. We also have many customers who use, for example, the cup or usables, and they combine it with ours. We're not an all or nothing, but there has to be a stepping stone and there has to be an easy swap. As I think I said in the beginning of the call, we truly believe that millions of people making just one or two changes has a huge impact than just a very small number making a very big impact themselves. So, you know, I think it's difficult. It's a difficult question, and I think what lies at our core as well is that there has to be a choice. And I think what we're dominated by right now, if I go to the supermarket, still today in Switzerland, and I don't know how it is for you out there, but is that our shelves in supermarkets are still dominated by the same companies when I was a child, when I got my period, and pretty much the same when my mother was there, and nothing has changed. There is little choice, and go to your shampoo shelves, or go every other part of the supermarket has changed, and I have that choice. I am educated. This has aluminium in my deodorant, or it doesn't, or, you know, but in this sector there's little transparency and little choice, and that's what we want to drive. And if we're your choice, we love it. We want to make Mondays an experience for you. We want you to have better periods, and I'm not just talking about the product, I'm talking about the experience, the ease of it. But it's not for everyone, we know that, but we want to drive that discussion.
Thank you very much, Elisabeth. This is Olga asking the question. And thank you very much. I totally agree with the consumer point of view, but I was also wondering, as an entrepreneur, like your supply chain, I happen to talk with entrepreneurs about their wanting to be sustainable. And like many times I heard like, yes, but if I have to choose my suppliers, then usually when I have to make a sustainable choice, they're much more expensive. So my cost base goes up. So as an entrepreneur, like how do you deal also with your supply chain? I mean, I understand you're mission driven, but how does it affect your decisions?
Yes, it's true. And obviously, organic cotton is a much more pricey product at the end of the day. And when we were putting together our products, we definitely had choices. For example, in our tampons, we were advised that, oh, well, you know what, you could actually just go for a polyester string because they're all made of polyester, and you just have the tampon made of organic cotton. Or you could make the veil on the outside with plastic. Or you could put a top layer of organic cotton, and then underneath you can put in the plastic, right? It's against your skin, it's healthier. And so, yes, it's a decision you make at that point. Are we going to stand by what we think is important or not? And where do we compromise? And that for us was not a compromise. We were not going to compromise on that. Where we have compromised is, for example, where our products are warehoused, or, trying to decrease the amount of marketing material that we put in our products. We get a lot of things like you don't market very much in your boxes, and we're like, no, because this is just printing material. We don't believe in that. We don't want to add to that. We also, for example, didn't print. This is the packaging we use. I mean, for a layman, it looks like plastic. We took the decision not to print anything on it because you can compost it. If you print on it, you then introduce chemical paints. Now, what's the cost as a business? The cost of the business is that I'm not communicating to you that this is not plastic. That's and is that my principles maybe stood in the way of that, right? Because I see many competitors who are using, I think if you buy a bag in Italy, it has writing all over it that it's not plastic. But my question is it how compostable is it then at that point? So, you definitely driven. And so as a company, and we're learning our lessons, we have to communicate this better with our customers. The other thing as well is that sustainability is very important, but at the end of the day, what truly lies behind most of our motivations is our personal health. And we've come to realize that that's a real key driver for making people go sustainable. So for us to achieve what our mission is that we have to convey what the health benefit is to the consumer. So as an entrepreneur, you sometimes are so focused on your own mission that you forget to align yourself with your consumer, and that's very important.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Olga. I have another question for you, Elisabeth. I mean, it's not a question; it's more an appreciation, I would say, and maybe more to comment on it. You have a very fantastic blog, also connected to your website, where you have a lot of, let's say, small articles or posts and things over there, and where I think actually over there you convey very much about the education and the, let's say, the communication piece. Yeah. And I actually shared the link also in the, let's say, in the communications of this event. So also maybe somebody on the call had the chance. Can you tell us a bit more, because that's an extra effort, right? To run a blog, it's another job on top of your, let's say, your usual job of, let's say, following up the value chain and selling the product and so on. So what is the value added for you to communicate further via the blog?
Yeah, with the blog is it's actually just a piece of passion, right? I mean, that's where you can talk about stuff where you don't feel like you have the voice to, and it's a real joy. I think we did a piece on organic cotton, which, I mean, to be honest with you, we had to cut down. It was so long because it's such a complex field. But it's a real journey, and we don't write that often, but when we do, we really try and get into the subject and give a feel for what drives us and what we want and where we're going and ideas, and we also have input from other people obviously in there. So it's actually as an entrepreneur, it's how would you say, it's a discipline actually, to discipline yourself to communicate what you're thinking and what you're talking about into something that's written, and to put it on paper and say that's black and white, that's our view, that's what we think about this, and that's a really powerful thing to do. And we've got a couple of people coming up soon actually, because we're going into we've now aligned ourselves with a couple of different doctors, and that's very powerful, to looking at TCM in the world of menstruation, for example, and gaining some new views from different areas. So that's the beauty of a blog, right, is that you can open it up and have different views. So if there's anyone who wants to write and be interested, we're very open to ideas or subjects actually that people are interested in. And we as sort of a consumer goods company, with direct access to our consumers, we get requests from people. They want to talk about this subject. I mean, big issue as well is the talking about this product subject with children, young girls and boys as well, and trying to normalize it. And it's surprisingly divisive. Some people feel it's not a conversation they want to talk about, and others do. And it's just a way for talking about things like that, how to introduce this to your children, especially if you have daughters in the house. Yeah. So we've approached lots of different subjects, and it's wonderful. But like I say, it's a discipline and it's a dedication, but it's definitely worth it.
Well, and it actually conveys a lot more about Mondays than just the website itself, right? Because of course your core website talks about the product and how to get the product, the different opportunities to buy, to get the product on subscription and so on. But the blog actually, for me at least, that was my impression, it conveys very much your mission, your purpose, and let's say the values that Organic Mondays, so yourselves, your co-founder, and the rest of the team have behind Organic Mondays itself. So I just wanted to say again, I quickly popped a couple of the articles into the blog, and I really appreciated them because they really convey what's Organic Mondays from a value proposition point of view. So that stands out. So I can tell you that. I don't know what's the feeling for the rest of the people in the call, but I think it really shows behind stating the mission that you have in the website. That sometimes mission statements are a bit fluffy and vague, but via the blog you really convey what is the daily job for Organic Mondays to all, as you said, kind of treating sustainability as a whole. Big complex problem, and also educating about not just about let's say plastic or the difference between plastic and non-plastic products, but also around education and learning more. And you actually touch base something very important that is again for each of us, maybe it's a mission that we can have, all of us on the call today, that we try to make this topic of period and period products not a taboo. So all of us in the call, women or men, we can let's say make a bit of a difference within our families and within our communities, and try to speak more openly about this topic that is still considered a sort of a taboo for many.
Yeah, I agree, and I think it kind of goes back. I think things have progressed now. I think diversity is about being different and appreciating and benefiting from differences. And I think that's, acknowledging them. And by just talking about something, you remove that taboo and you remove it being unnormal. And so by bringing it into a normal conversation, you allow for something that's quite natural just to be dealt with. And there's no need to have huge discussions about it if you don't want to, but it's just saying it's fact and it's natural and healthy makes a huge difference. And so at home or in work, like I say, if you have products in the bathrooms, it makes a huge difference wherever you are. You go to a friend's house, or you go to a restaurant, or you're at school, frankly. I mean, at a time when you're a young kid. So there's a lot of work we can still do to make it normal. But everyone can take their own responsibility for doing that.
Maybe we can launch an awareness test for the people in the call. So next time you go to the supermarket, maybe you can check the section with regard to period products, and you can check out yourself. I did it a couple of days ago in preparation of this call, okay. and I actually checked. In Switzerland, there are some options also in normal supermarkets, but I agree with you. There's not many. So for me as well, the big question, the big pain point to tackle is having choices, and then people can freely choose the product that they prefer. But having choices I think is the cornerstone for period products, but in general, right? So having the possibility to choose between plastic-free products or not, and also making a conscious choice. So for all of you guys, let us know what you find on the shelves in your local supermarkets.
Yeah. And it's also about transparency, right? I mean, I think one thing is that you look at the packaging try and have a look at what's in there. I think you'll find it's very difficult to understand or know. You know, and you think about cosmetics or food, it's very transparent, and that should happen in this sector too, for sure.
Okay, any further question from the people in the call while we have Elisabeth with us still for a few minutes?
No.
Okay, so we have Sophia. I see her popping on the screen. Thanks, Sophia.
No, it's more not a question for this call, but actually we are doing a research with sustainable entrepreneurs, and that's why Olga has mentioned that we are talking with many, and also like deep diving in their challenges and how it is to start up. So we would love to, we found your answers truly inspiring, Elisabeth. Like I have taken so many notes, and I have been texting Olga separately saying, I love her answers, I want to know more. So we would love to have like a follow-up conversation. I know that Nicoletta has your contact, but first I wanted to ask you, Elisabeth, if you won't mind, if we can contact you directly for a follow-up conversation.
Yes, definitely. Always open.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
That's great to create connections. This is also our mission within Next, to connect our community and also, I mean, with you. So thanks, Olga and Sophia, for following up with Elisabeth on a couple of topics of this talk today. Okay, so I think we are approaching towards the end of our talk. So first of all, thank you very much, Elisabeth, for your no filter answers to our questions, and thank you very much for everybody on the call. You really made it lively and engaging. Otherwise, it would be boring, just me and Elisabeth talking. So thank you very much for your interest into this topic. And as we said, we recorded this session, so we will make it available for the colleagues that couldn't make it for different reasons, or also for time zone reasons, because as you know, we are pretty global from Seattle to Sydney. And there was a lot of interest with regard to this topic, but some people for several reasons couldn't make it. So I thank you very much for being with us today. It was very refreshing to speaking about sustainable entrepreneurship and learning a bit more what you do in the space of period products. So thank you very much, everybody. Have a great rest of the day. And Sophia and Olga, I will put you in touch with Elisabeth for keeping up the conversation. And everybody, remember, you have your awareness test. Go to the supermarket and check out if Elisabeth told us the truth or not.
Thank you.
Have a great day, everybody. Take care.
Bye.
Bye, Elisabeth. Thank you.